A stolen relic gets a 12-year-old boy in unexpected hot water. But when that water is filled with monstrous sea creatures that threaten to destroy an entire town, things really heat up in a wild tale of truth wrapped up in fiction, designed to get children reading books again. We'll get the inside scoop on that tonight, so please stay with us. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa, and welcome to EWTN Live, where we bring you guests from all over the world. Now, tonight's guest is no stranger to the network by any means. You see him each week hosting the World Over Live. He's also the lead anchor and managing editor of EWTN News, and he hosts EWTN's coverage of major papal events around the world. He's written and edited a number of books about Mother Angelica, and next week he'll premiere the first of a series of children's fiction books entitled Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls. So please welcome EWTN's own Raymond Arroyo. Raymond, welcome.
Great to be back.
Good to have you. Good to have you.
Delightful. Thank you.
So, it's been great. As a matter of fact, I was just talking on my radio show today. Someone was asking about the biography of Mother Angelica that you had done. And I said, honestly, get the CD version. Because Raymond does all the voices, and I knew all those people, and he does a good job on it.
It's fun. No, that was a fun thing. And I did the audiobook to this new book as well, to the Will Wilder book. So I like the performance.
Yeah. Well, you're an old actor.
Well, you know what it is? I can let the voices in my head out for a little bit. So, I don't have to listen to them alone. That's what this is about. It's all.
Is there
for
a doctor
fun.
in the house?
Yes. Several are probably needed at this point.
What is it that's getting you to move towards doing a novel for kids instead of something about a novel nun on TV?
Well, I'll tell you. When I started telling stories to my own children and talking to librarians and teachers and educators, there's a missing gap here in books for kids. There's a type of book they're looking for, and there's a very limited number of them available in the sense that kids want an adventure. They want a character they can love and follow. They also want to be scared around the edges, is what a number of librarians told me. They said, I've got boys coming in here, they've read all the Goosebumps, they want a series that scares them a little bit. And then I wanted to give kids, my own children and others, something that was nourishing and something that you could actually grow from going on this journey. Yeah. So it's not just a story, it's all of our stories, really, Father.
Yeah. Before we get going too far into this, we have a trailer about this new book, which is actually going to be the first in a series.
Yes.
So let's take a look at the trailer.
He alone can see them, the dark things we ignore. 12-year-old Will Wilder sought a relic with rare powers. Now, he has awoken an ancient evil, and the only way to save the town of Perilous Falls is to embrace his destiny before it's too late. So long as he isn't grounded at the time. Chip Flaherty calls it a pulse-pounding page-turner. Think Indiana Jones meets Percy Jackson. Dean Koontz raves great fun and great frights. The search for the next epic must-read adventure series is over. Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls by Raymond Arroyo. Premiering March 8th from Random House Kids.
Now, where is that trailer going to play?
It just played here. This was the premiere of that trailer.
Shazam.
How do you like that?
I would have expected that you do that in Hollywood, but here in Irondale,
well, look,
Alabama, that's pretty cool.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
No, we wanted something that would capture the adventuresome spirit of the book.
Yeah.
Will Wilder is a headstrong kid, like a lot of children, and you get a
Not
sense
like your Alexander.
No, not like me. But what I love about the story is this is a kid who, at all external appearances, seems like a normal kid. Yeah. He's in his little town of Perilous Falls. He accidentally injures his brother, and he's punished for it. And Will soon discovers his great-grandfather was a collector of antiquities and relics. He keeps them in a museum in the middle of Perilous Falls. We don't know why. You won't find out for several books. But Will figures, if this relic thing is real, and he's told that there's a relic, and it's under a church, under several layers and chambers under this church. And he figures, if I can go and borrow that relic, maybe it'll heal my brother, I'll get out of my punishment, and I'll bring it back. Well, when he borrows the relic, all heck breaks loose, and unanticipated things happen to poor Will. Right. And we learn along the way, what this is really about, Father, is the notion that you can never really know your future if you don't know your past. And it's about an awareness and a connection with the decisions of our ancestors and the things they did, and the obligations that sometimes places on all of us. And it's about our gifts. Will has a supernatural gift that I won't ruin by telling you now. But like all of us, we sometimes rebel against those gifts. And yet, those are the things we're called to. Those are the things we're made for. And you see Will fight it. It's not an easy thing. There's a burden attached. So it really, this story, this whole saga, the whole Will Wilder series, is really about family, growing up, and the challenges we face, and the decisions we make, how every decision has a consequence. Every choice has a real-world consequence, and how even the actions of a 12-year-old boy can change the whole world.
One of the things I would hope that parents and children going through this book would do is go back to some of the stories about Jacob and Elijah.
Right, that Elijah's mantle figures in the plot. It's one of the relics in this story. And I'll tell you, I came across just the other day, the American Library Association handed out early readers of the book. So I am getting letters now back from parents and kids who've already read it. The kids are, well, when's the next one coming? We love the adventure. Amazing letters. Well, a fifth grader sent me a thing the other day, and he said, everywhere Will went, I felt I was there with him. I love reading. Thank you for this. And I realized that a 12-year-old can really make a difference. That's a great, empowering, important message for a kid to apprehend, I think. But I had a letter from a Jewish mother who said, I want to thank you so much because my son was reading your book. He came across Elijah's mantle. She wasn't too crazy about the finger bone of St. Thomas, but we'll talk about that later. Yes. But she said, I love that you had the Elijah's mantle here. It allowed us to talk about these stories so important to our family. And she said, and I got to tell him that his grandfather was a rabbi.
Boy didn't even know that.
Which he didn't know.
Yeah.
He didn't know. Guess he didn't know his grandfather. So that's really what I wanted to do, was to connect families to their own story, their own history. And what Will does, and he fights it at first, he doesn't want to know anything about the past. There are members of his family that don't want him to know anything about the past. Right. But Will, because of his sense of adventure, because he's headstrong, he kind of barrels forward and he figures these things out. And his great aunt Lucille, who's at the very center of the story, she really is a mentor to him. She has her own powers. And it really is a reconciliation of generations in a family as well, which I love.
That's one of the things that goes on is not only Will's development as a character, but the character development of the adults.
Yeah.
For instance, the parents, they are at these two opposite ends of people who lost faith. The father only believes what he can see.
Right.
And the mother believes anything that she might want to see.
Right.
She's open to any kind of, she makes a show out of superstition.
Right.
That's modernity.
Yeah.
We have so many folks, like Chesterton said, if you lose your faith in God, you don't believe in nothing. You believe in anything.
Right.
And she demonstrates that in a way. And at the same time, the dad is one of these cynics who doesn't want to hold, all that stuff is nonsense.
Yeah.
And here's this boy, working his way through to something deeper than either one of his parents' mentalities
in some
about
ways.
religion.
Well, he challenges, he shakes the whole family up. And what I love about this series, if you read middle grade fiction, some of you are young enough to know, 9 times out of 10, you're dealing with an orphan, abandoned kids, kids who are looking for parents. The parents died and they're trying to figure something out. But usually it's a kid alone, okay, with their friends.
Right.
I started down that path initially with this story, and I stopped because it made more sense and was more dramatically interesting to me to create the whole patchwork of a family surrounding the kid. Because I thought, we all, part of the drama of life is coming to peace with the people who brought you into the world, learning from them, pulling away from them while embracing them at the same moment. The family saga of this I loved. And it's something unique in middle grade fiction. I think it's something families are going to love. And the characters, the ages of the characters, the diversity of the characters, I think they'll enjoy.
See, that's one of the other elements, is that it's not only that the characters are diverse. There's one character, the gardener, Mr. Shen.
Mr. Shen, Tobias Shen.
And another Old Testament name, but with a guy from the Orient. And he reminded me of Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
He's someone who has a certain type of discipline that is detached from needing you. He doesn't engage in a kid in the way that, I need you to like me, so please do what I say. No.
There's a stillness about Tobias Shen.
Exactly.
He waits,
And it's not only a stillness, but there's like Mr. Miyagi, who can be very quiet and just get you to obey. And in that blind obedience to certain things, you discover, and that's one of his themes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And he's also the one who introduces this theme of going to the past.
Right.
If you don't understand your past, how do you know where you're going?
Right. No, and I loved that idea, and that the great-grandfather who had built the town, built this museum, collected these relics, and the family had sort of forgotten its own history. It was something in the rearview mirror. And there are a lot of families like this. Even relatives they don't really know them. They don't really understand that story. And I personally think it's so important. I was blessed to have my grandparents, my great-grandparents I knew. And that connection, I learned so much from them. Things I treasure now as an adult. Lessons they taught me as a child, things they exposed me to that I just wouldn't have known. We shouldn't miss those opportunities because many times they lead us to our purpose, our reason for being.
That's, one of the things I see as part of my job. I just I buried the last of my great aunts.
Oh my gosh.
That she was the last
How
of that
old
generation.
was she?
Am I supposed to say that?
Well, she was not to say anything, but what was she, 108?
No. She was in her 90s.
Okay.
And I'd said to her at one of the family weddings, Auntie Aja, I'm a great uncle now. That means that you are a great, great, great aunt.
Oh, boy.
And she said, oh, why did you tell me that? Now I feel old. But having that, and I'm one of the few in the family left who knew my great-grandparents, grandparents, and of course my parents, and to pass that on to my grandnieces. That's important to have that kind of link to these people.
You're not alone in the world. Yeah. And I love that idea. And
you didn't come out of a turnip truck.
No, and the other thing is, Will finds the great adventure of his life through the stories of his family, his great-grandfather's decisions, his great-aunt Lucille, who's been the keeper of the flame and someone who is shunned by the father and other elements of the family. She's kind of written off as the kooky old aunt. What is she doing over
But
there?
she's so interesting.
Oh, she's a great hero of the piece. I also
Exactly.
loved having a female heroine of a certain age who is at the very center of this story. I thought that was needed.
Of the age of the great aunts, like I'm a great uncle age.
Oh,
But
don't tell me you're here fishing for a plot.
no. I'm just
Okay.
making
being
the
sure.
You're just making the link. I'm at that generation that
There you
the
go.
great aunt is.
That's okay. The adventure's just starting.
Let's no, that's not true. Let's take a moment, then we're going to listen to the editor of the book, Emily Easton of Random House, and hear a little bit about how this book reaches out to boys and girls that are reading it. So take a look.
Well, I think for the boys, it's action, action, action. There's scary parts that take them to the edge of comfort. You know, it doesn't go over that edge, it goes right up to the edge and keeps them on the edge of their seats. And the short chapters are great because they feel that they're accomplishing something. They're moving through the story at a great pace. The friendship, the boys, the bantering back and forth, I think they're really going to love that. For the girls, I think all of those things apply. Plus, they are going to like Cammie and that she's on the adventure with the boys. They're going to love Will in a different way, perhaps, than the boys will, and maybe have a little crush on him. And there are such great female role models in this book. You know, they can aspire to be Aunt Lucille and be out slaying demons just like Will. And Will's mom is a great, strong character. So there's something for both the boys and the girls, I think.
Yeah, you sense that. I'm still, seeing the development of the mom as a character.
Yeah.
But Aunt Lucille comes off much more strongly.
She comes out of the
early.
cannon
Oh, yeah.
pretty early. Don't ruin that. I love that moment. But Emily is such a great editor.
It's not a real canon, by the way.
No, not a real canon. We don't fire Aunt Lucille over Perilous Falls. No. Emily Easton, who you saw there, is my editor at Random House, who has been such a godsend to this project. The people at Random House have been incredible.
Well, they did Dr. Seuss.
Oh, sure. This is the house Dr. Seuss built.
Well, he did. Well, he made them.
Right. He really launched this whole children's, publishing. And then, interestingly enough, the president of Random House is a woman named Barbara Marcus. Now, I'll walk you through very quickly. There's an interesting story here. This book was originally to be published by another publishing house. And it was named something entirely different.
Right, I remember that.
And we went through the process at the very last minute, due to some disagreements and difficulties that I saw. I bought the rights back from that publisher. 2 weeks later, my agent of 12 years, Loretta Barrett, dies of a brain tumor. So here I am with this project I've worked on for 7 years. I don't have a home for it. My agent is gone. So I went to an editor I knew at another house. They were interested, and a lawyer friend of mine said, let me take this to Random House. I said, I've been publishing at Random House for years. All the Mother Angelica books are at Random House. My editors there say, it's just not what they're looking for. Middle grade adventure, this type of thing they're not looking for. A few days later, I get a call from Barbara Marcus, who's head of Random House Kids. She says, I want this series. I want to talk to you. Now, Barbara is the woman who for 25 years, almost 20 years, was the executive director of Scholastic. She launched a few little series. I don't know if you've heard of them or not. Goosebumps, The Babysitter's Club, and a little thing, I don't know if you know this one at all, Harry Potter. Barbara is like the Wizard of Oz of children's publishing. She has a great eye. She's an amazing marketer. So to have her embrace this series, and Phoebe Ye and Emily, who you saw, they have been so good to me. It's the best publishing experience I have ever had. The team is incredible, and they have so embraced Will Wilder and the series and me, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's one of the things that is, I'm sure, a positive thing. They know what they're doing. They're calm about it. It's not a desperation thing. It's just
Well, I don't know if they're calm about it. They crack the whip pretty severely. Emily, I'm looking at you. They have. I'll tell you. This is not by accident. Everything is done a year out. This book was written and finished editing a year ago. So it goes through marketing, it goes through sales and publicity, and they retweak the cover, and there's a long process and so many hands it goes through. The marketing team, I mean, it's just amazing. It is amazing. And the launch and the ramp up for a series like this, it's been astounding to be a part of, but to watch these people and the level of work, the load that they have every day, because they're acquiring new work while they're editing yours. I mean, it's a constant. I don't know how they do. I could never be an editor at a house like this. I mean, I'm in amazement at what they do. But it's been a marvelous ride, and they insist on making sure that that story is so clear and so clean, and that it is told in a way that is going to have maximum appeal to the audience today. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to entertain kids. I wanted to give them something the whole family could enjoy and discuss together. In a day or two, I'm going to put up on my website, on RaymondArroyo.com. There's a family guide that you can download. It's pages. It's got puzzles. It's got discussion questions, activities. There's a game. And it really allows the family to have an interaction with the book. And that's why I wrote it.
Yeah.
If the truth be known.
Sure. Well, this is something that, you said you're telling stories to your children.
Yeah.
And in the back of the book, you mentioned how this has its origin around the bathtub.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that you were, as telling stories as you bathe your kids.
Right. That's what in fact, I said Will Wilder started as a soap opera because, I was telling it to the kids. And they wanted a new story every night. And I came up with these wacky characters. His name was not initially Will Wilder.
Right.
Barbara Marcus at Random House said, I won't even tell you what the name was, the original name, but she said, I love the series, but this name, you got to change this name. I said, okay. And she was right. This name so captures who this character is. But I started telling the kids slapstick, kind of fun, slightly scary stories. And I would put a lot of cliffhangers in because I really just wanted them to get out of the tub, put your pajamas on, let's go to bed. So the only way to do that was to entice them with a cliffhanger. And they'd say, well, what happens next? I'd say, I'll tell you when you put your pajamas on. So then they put the pajamas on, I'd tell them the next part of the story. It worked. So in many ways, the story was born there, and they became, my three children, my greatest focus group. Yeah. They would bring friends in, and as I finished a chapter, I would read it to the group, and they would say, I hated that character, that's boring, why do you have that there? He wouldn't say that. So they instantly corrected me. It was a great focus group. So,
but that also indicates they had a fairly clear and developed sense of Will Wilder.
They did.
And they said they knew him better than you in some ways.
This is why I love writing for kids, Father. I mean, I've written for adults. I love adults, obviously. I am one. But there is an
imagination.
Okay, I agree. Not entirely, but almost an adult. The imaginative life of a child, the reason I love writing for this audience, between 5 and 16 or so, there's a suspension of belief. Mm-hmm. There is a sense of wonder and awe that I knew was there. And when they hear a story, when you tell them a story like this, they enter into that world, not askance. They run at it. They embrace it. Right. It's part of their lives and their world. And it's why kids who've grown up with certain series, Narnia, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, we grow up and remember these things. Even those lessons, they become allegories rattling around in the back of our heads. For me, it was Peter Pan, it was Charlotte's Web, it was Sherlock Holmes. Those stories never leave you. I want Will to be one of those stories. And it's marvelous to watch kids. Their eyes light up. And they know, it doesn't take any time. You read them a chapter and they're in. They're in this world. And it's a fun ride. This is a romp. My first duty was to entertain them.
It's not tedious. It's not pedantic. It really is
a story.
Entering into a story that kids have cell phones, they're texting, and they're doing stuff that kids do.
Yeah, no, it's their world and it's Will's world. And they kind of fuse together. And Will's special gift, which I won't reveal too much of, but he sees things no one else can.
Right.
And he sees deeply. And I guess what I'm trying to do with this is to equip not only the kids, but their parents to see the world deeply as well, to see each other deeply, and their past, all of that. I hope they go on the ride for the fun of it. I hope they come back with something more than they expected.
Now, I did notice that there was Spanish moss in this.
A little around the edges.
And
Around the edges.
so that I figured, well, this is somewhere south of Montgomery line.
No, it's
Well,
somewhere.
there's no Spanish moss growing north of Montgomery.
Well, they asked me where, people asked me where this is. It's on the east coast of the United States.
Okay.
And it's somewhere between Virginia and Florida.
Well, there's no Spanish moss up in the Carolinas, is there?
Yeah, there is.
You sure?
Sure.
Huh. Well, maybe it's warm enough.
Savannah, Georgia?
Yeah. So, well, Savannah, well, that's Georgia. That's
Well.
it. But it's, I figured it's down around there someplace. The river seemed murky enough that it could have been down by your home in New Orleans
No,
or
it's
down
not
in
that
Louisiana.
far. Don't try to cast it down there. There is a New Orleans character.
Yes.
Bartimaeus, who is the kind of, he's Aunt Lucille's right-hand man at the museum.
Right.
And he is a New Orleans character whom I love.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of character. He's a New Orleanian through and through. And we
well,
learn a lot
actually,
more about
out
him.
and out. I mean, he's big, and that's New Orleans right there.
Well, now, hold on. Don't defame my people.
The fame, I'm bragging about how good the food
A
is.
little gumbo doesn't hurt anybody. And the second course is what's expected. So don't worry
Yes,
about
the
it.
etouffee, they're going to blow you up.
Well, part of the fun.
It is. Oh, it is. I love it. I just was down
it's
in
the best.
Baton Rouge last weekend for our
Oh.
radio and doing a fundraiser there. They're doing great
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
all over that area. It's this is something too that I think one of the issues we also want to encourage is to get kids away from texting their friends.
Yeah.
And too much, constantly. In fact, one of my favorite books is by a professor from Emory. It's called "The Dumbest Generation."
Oh, how uplifting.
Well, it's an important book
No, I
because
understand.
it deals with the steady decline
Of communication.
of grades,
grades.
general knowledge. It's just been on a steady decline
has
since
been.
the 90s. And long and short is, it's kids bringing the world of their peers everywhere they go and not entering into a world of adults. They can, when we grew up, crossing the threshold of home, you were in the world of adults. Adults
Right.
ruled.
Right.
Kids ruled in the playground, but at your home, at school, at your work, and at church, adults ruled.
Yeah.
Kids were meant to be seen, and
Not heard.
all of us knew that line.
Yeah, well.
And so
That doesn't work in Perilous Falls, I'll tell you. Will
and
has
but
heard a lot. Go ahead.
one of the issues is that young people are so texting their friends. They bring the world of their friends
I get it.
everywhere. And they don't get into these other worlds of adults or the worlds of the imagination.
Well, and that's a problem.
And this is a key thing
Yep.
about their learning.
Well, you have a window, and that's why this middle grade, it's why I wanted to write middle grade and not for YA, for teens or for adults. You have a very small window in which you can capture and engage that imagination. I was just talking with Dean Koontz, and he said adults came to him, they read his books, he writes fiction, lots of it. And they said, well, I loved your book, but these characters, they wouldn't have done that. Nobody would have done that. And he's like, what happened to your imagination?
Exactly.
And we have to encourage that. And a lot of that, we can talk about it later, is based on literacy. One has to have that focus and that love of learning and reading so that you can wake up that part of your brain, that part of your soul. And I worry, there are so many kids and many, many adults I encounter, some I've interviewed for jobs. Not only can they not communicate at all, but the imagination died somewhere back in kindergarten. Yeah. That's a real problem.
Actually, they talk about it at age 9.
Wow.
That's where they can see
That's make or break.
things going up, and then about age 9, when kids start to get their cell phones, they start going down.
Wow.
And they've been doing tests on that. So we got to go to a break.
Okay.
We're going to be back. I want to let you know that you can get a free DVD copy of tonight's EWTN live show when you purchase Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls from EWTN's religious catalog. Now that is a $15 value. That's a good price. So we want you to go to EWTNRC.com to order it, or you can do it by phone.
Well, hold up the book, Father.
Well,
they can't see the book.
Well, they can't see it
There
much
you go. Now
anyway.
they can see. Here, let me help. Look. Here, there we go.
Sit
Let's
back
get
there.
it all in.
Or you can go, they won't see the number, 1-800-854-6316. You can go call them. It's 24/7, or go online 24/7. Order the book from EWTN Religious Catalog, and you get a copy of this DVD of tonight's program. So we urge you to do that and to stay with us. We'll be back in about a couple minutes to get your questions and comments, as well as those of our studio audience. Please stay with us. Thank you, and welcome back. We have a couple of really nice groups over here with us, and we'd love to have you come and join us here in beautiful Irondale, Alabama. It was a real pretty day today, and we'd love to have you come in. So if you can, contact our pilgrimage department at 205-271-2966. Or go to our website, EWTN.com. They will give you information on when there are live programs, masses, of course, how to get up to Huntsville to visit the sisters and pray up there, as well as, have a chance. They'll give you information about where to stay, where to eat. Love to have you come down here and enjoy it. Again, I've mentioned it before. Tulip trees already in blossom. Forsythia's coming out. It's for those of you up north. This is it's going to get real pretty over the next few weeks. So come on down. You ready for some questions?
I am ready. Let the interrogation begin.
We have, first of all, Marianne online. Hello, Marianne.
Hi, Father Pacwa. How are you?
Marianne, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. And how are you doing tonight?
I am well. How are you?
Fine, thanks. And what's your question?
I just have two brief questions for Raymond. First, I just want to tell Raymond that Mom and I love the world over. We watch you regularly. We love you. And my two questions is, the characters in the Will Wilder series, how much did Raymond base his characters on real-life people that he knew, and how much is Will Wilder like Raymond Arroyo? And also, who were some of your influences from reading as a child? What books did you like to read, and what authors did you sort of model your writing style on?
I love that. Thank you. What great questions. Mary Ann, I love you. You should come do the show.
Wait a minute.
Not your show, my show. I'm not trying to put you out of a job, Bach. Well, quiet. Mary Ann, here's first thing. Who did I base the characters on? Look, authors always, we are scavengers. You take bits and pieces from everybody you've ever seen or known, and then it all kind of cooks down. No character in Will Wilder is based on any one person, but I will tell you this much. All of them are a little bit of me because it's the only way you can really get into the soul of a character. Look, I was an actor, so the way I write is really the way I would build a character as an actor. You start with the basics, and then you build the backstory. I wrote, and I have, long biographies of these characters. Vocal tics, what they wear, the color of their hair, whether they like ice cream or not, when they go out on the weekends, who do they like, who do they not like, the background and experiences they had with the other characters. So I write all of that out in a biographical form, pages and pages, and I've got binders. But when I go, and I usually write at a coffee house or in my office downstairs, I carry my binders down, And then I sit there and talk to my imaginary friends. And a lot of them are me. So, little bits of them are me.
So what you're saying then, that these characters are all sort of like a gumbo in a Raymond Arroyo roux.
You got it, baby. I knew you'd figure it out. That's it. Marlon Brando used to say, as an actor, you don't create someone new. You take a little bit of yourself. And that becomes the foundation, the roux, that you build the rest of the recipe upon and the rest of the character upon. And think about it. We're all actors in our lives. When father walks in the room and says hello, you're going to act toward him a certain way. When your husband, that you've been married to for 52 years, walks in the door, you're going to regard him very differently. The kid walks in who, lies all the time, you got his number. Different shades of your personality comes out. This is a magnification of those shades, broken into 100 pieces. So it's all a little bit of me. My influences. I've always loved, in children's literature, Roald Dahl, who wrote the great Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and so many wonderful books, The Witches. I mean, he's an incredible writer. I've always loved the whimsy and the madcap side of Roald Dahl. You'll see some of that in my writing. I was a big C.S. Lewis reader when I was a kid. I read Tolkien. I find Tolkien, I know this is going to be a terrible heresy, I find Tolkien a little slow for this generation. Kids don't take to it quite as quickly as the previous generation. But I love elements of the world he was painting. He was such a great spinner of worlds, created worlds, and the detail is magnificent. Yeah. So all of that inspired me. But it at times, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to write. The hardest thing I've ever written. Nonfiction is so much easier. Fiction, you have to immerse yourself in the world. You've got to give yourself several hours to kind of cook and to get into Perilous Falls and into the heads of these characters. And then your imagination is one with them and you can kind of start talking and things happen. But it's difficult. And I can't remember Marianne's last question because I'm getting old.
You got it.
I covered all the bases? Okay.
You are getting old. You forgot that you answered it.
I know. Well, that's the problem.
We have a question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
Ed Batosky, and I'm from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Oh, I know right where that
Holy
is.
Cross Catholic Church.
All right.
Cool. Good to have you here. And your question?
As I'm sitting and listening to you, I want you to know that I watch you many times on World Over Live.
Thank you.
It's great. It's a great show.
Oh, you're very kind.
But my question is this. I'm wondering whether you do all of your own writing, or is perhaps there a ghost or a co-writer that you rely on?
Mm-hmm. I so wish that there were a ghost hunter that you could point me to, because I would love a ghost writer. But no, I write all of this. Good or bad, it's mine. I don't like the ghost writer thing. I couldn't do that. I'm too much of a control freak. And I spend a lot of time building this world from the ground up. But it's important, I think, to have a single voice. I think that's good for the book. It's good for the author. But look, maybe when I grow up and get real successful, I'll be James Patterson, because that's a great gig. I interviewed James Patterson. He outlines his books and then hands them off to a writer, and then he edits and rewrites. And that's how he can put out 14, 15, 20 books a year in multiple genres. That's a great gig. Next life.
I agree with you, though. I would much rather be able to do my own writing.
Yeah, it's slow, but it's better.
Yeah. Ma'am, where are you
Yes,
from?
ma'am.
I'm from Montgomery.
Montgomery, Alabama. Good to have you here. And which is the end of the line for the Spanish moss in this state.
I've seen a lot of that in my life, yes.
Yes. So what is your question?
Well, this is a series, and I was kind of wondering, in your writing process, when you were working on book 1, did you actually start thinking about plots for 2, 3, that sort of thing?
Yeah. It's a multi-book series, and the reason it took me 7 years is because you really have to know where you're going. So the last book is fully outlined. Mm-hmm. The first 3 books are fully outlined. I've already written book 2, and I'm starting on book 3. You've got to know where you're going with a big saga like this, or you're lost. I don't know how else you do it. Now, I was talking to Dean Koontz the other day, who's done multiple series. He writes without an outline. He has done a 7-book series, and he just goes page to page, character to character, and keeps it all in his head. I'm not that smart. Yeah. I need the breakdown, and this story is so interwoven. There's so many moving parts, and you have to plant seeds. In the first book, which I did, This is the foundation of everything that will come. But
Well-
there are clues and seeds and little chinks of character that emerge here that really won't pay off and you won't fully understand until a book down the line. And that's a good series. That's what you want.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think makes that necessary is you begin with talking about his great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And we don't hear much about his grandfather yet.
No,
You know, so... You know,
There's a lot of family to be introduced.
There's a whole lot of different characters to come in, you know, with great aunts and parents and siblings and all this. So all of that is going on, and you certainly have to have a sense of an outline to say who are these, like you said, who are these folks? Make up your own little history.
Well, that's it. And that's what it is. It's my own genealogy and biography. I have pictures, all the places. There's another book of maps. There's a map now that they put, thank goodness, because it helps everybody. There's a map in the front of the book that I love because the kids can follow along. They know where they're going in the world. I didn't have this. I had my own crummy sketch at the beginning. But you do need a sense of where is this? How is that room situated? When they leave the kitchen, where do they go? It is an insane amount of detail that I frankly had no real grasp of when I started. But as you start writing, you realize I've got to stop, I've got to back up and figure all of this out before I can sit at the desk again.
Now,
And I did that.
one of the other questions, before we have another question, but a question I have is, did you do the drawings?
In the book?
Yes.
Oh no, those aren't my drawings.
Okay.
No, there's a Antonio did them, a great graphic artist, and Jeff Nenthrop did this fantastic cover that I just love because it captures kind of, it's the mystery, it's the supernatural sense, it's the adventure. It's a tale of adventure. It's a romp.
Yeah,
and I like that about it.
And in that picture on the cover, he's holding
The reliquary.
of
St. Thomas the Apostle. It's St. Thomas's finger.
right, and that's an important relic.
It's an important relic historically, but here's what I love about it. And
We got, as a matter of fact, on the screen,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
got a
There it
picture
is.
of it, of the actual relic of St. Thomas's finger.
the phalange of St. Thomas.
Right.
That finger bone is actually at a church in Rome, the Church of the Holy Cross in Jerusalem in Rome. St. Helena supposedly brought it back. She discovered it and brought it back, and it is there on display. What I love about all the relics of this book, and there are sarcophagi, there are vases, there are paintings referenced, they are all really in museums and churches all over the world, in the United States, in Europe, everywhere. I love the idea that kids can dig deeper, and they will find things about the plot as they discover the reality of these antiquities that are in history. Someone compared, one of my editors said, it's kind of like a really good Da Vinci Code.
Well, actually,
It does have a feeling of national treasure or Da Vinci Code about it.
I was thinking about Da Vinci Code, but you know, the critics of Da Vinci Code said the size of the paintings weren't even correct.
No,
the
well,
book had the wrong dimensions for the size of the paintings, so that ultimately in Da Vinci Code, the only things you could know to be true is that Paris is in France and London is in England.
Are they?
And the rest of it is all made up,
Yeah.
including the paintings by Da Vinci.
Right.
Whereas the finger of St. Thomas, his relic, can be seen in these other in these other relics.
Well, the opening scene in the book is it's Ortona, Italy, during the war. That
World
date,
War II.
World War II. During that date and what happens there is exact to history. I spent weeks doing research on this. It was a Battle of Ortona. The Canadians were involved, and the Nazis blew up a church. That's the opening scene of the book.
Right.
And that really happens, and then Jacob Wilder lands in on the scene. That was my embellishment. But everything else, everything surrounding it, is true to form. And I tried to be as exact as I could. I did a lot of back research in it. But I think that's important. Kids want to go on that trip, and it's so important to awaken them to the wonder of history.
And that there are these elements, that there are relics of historical
Value,
veracity inside the book, as well as the romp.
Absolutely.
Father, where are you from?
I'm from Mount St. Mary's University in Emmitsburg, Maryland.
Good to have you here. Welcome, welcome, Father. And you teach there?
I'm the campus chaplain.
Aren't you
so we brought a bunch of college students here for a year of Mercy Pilgrimage.
How great.
Good for you. Well, welcome to all you students, too. Thank you. And so, Father, what's your question?
So besides reading great authors, first, who were your mentors? How did they inspire you? And because I work with college students, a number of people say, you know, I dream of being a writer. What advice would you have for budding writers to take the next step in developing their gifts?
Great question. My mentors, the people I read all the time. Graham Greene is probably one of the greatest spare authors. He wrote little books, but oh my gosh, the details are beautiful, the plots are wonderful, they're about deep things. He's spectacular. There's a writer who's still among us, Ron Hansen, who writes spectacular westerns and, oh my gosh, so many marvelous books. Hitler's Niece was one of his books. Atticus, he's a spectacular writer. As a technician, as somebody who writes, I say, in between the lines, you can't go wrong with Ron Hansen. My favorite as a thriller writer, James Lee Burke, he's from my neck of the woods in Louisiana. He writes the Dave Robichaux mysteries. Oh, just a lyrical genius. You read his work and you can't stop reading. It has pace, it has dynamism. So reading great works are really important,
Yes.
A. B, if you want to be a writer, sit your tuchus in the chair and write. Writers write. We don't talk, we write. That's the hard part. I mean, I spend most of my days, when I'm not on TV or interviewing somebody, I'm at home writing. And people say, where do you find the time to do this? I have a really, really wonderful wife who makes the time for me, and the family allows me to take that time. But it's lonely, it's long hours. As I said, this type of writing, it's multiple hours, so it's not something you can just drop in on. You need 3 or 4 hours at a stretch to really tap into that world, to go to Perilous Falls again. Yeah. It's time intensive. You have to figure out the thing that inspires you. With me, it's always an image. I remember reading, I'd seen relics, I'd covered them in my work, so that was in the brain box. And then I read a story in Ireland, and it was a lead box of the heart of a saint, St. Lawrence, I think. And it was above the altar, in chains, okay? Someone broke into the church, stole the lead box, and made off with the relic. Now, I started thinking to myself, who would take a relic and why? And Will Wilder's whole world was born really in that question.
Sure.
And and then I said, well, what if the person taking it were a 12-year-old boy? And what if he had a really good justification for doing so and meant to bring it back?
Well,
And
in the case of Will, it's a moderately good self-interest, influence,
totally selfish.
desire. Yeah.
Will wants to get out of his punishment.
Right.
But with the mind of a child, he thinks, I'm going to go and borrow this and take it back. And he doesn't really believe what this relic can do.
He just wants to get out of trouble.
He just wants to get out of trouble, and he thinks, okay, I'm going to roll the dice on this. I'll try this relic. We'll see what happens. Well, a lot happens.
Right. Let's take another question coming in by phone. Hello, Mary.
Hi,
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Good to have you. What is your question?
Well, I was wondering how does he avoid being preachy when writing a religious or a Catholic-themed book? I assume he wants, to impart the faith. So how does he avoid that?
I don't write Catholic books. I write books. This is a story. This is first a story. My job is to entertain, firstly, because if I don't entertain, no one will read my story. This is no different from Indiana Jones. The relic is a plot device. What people bring to this story, and they'll bring a lot, is their business. My business as a novelist, no matter what I'm writing, is to ask the right questions. It is the reader who answers those questions. So I don't have to worry about preaching. I'm not full disclosure, I'm not preaching. This is not a catechetical book. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm telling a story that I think will tap into a wide audience and excite kids and families about reading and exploring their own lives. Is there a faith element to it? You bet. But I don't lean into that. It's not preachy at all. The story is the story, and I'm very true to that story and those characters. That's my job. It's not an evangelical book. But now, an author brings his whole person to a book. My heart and soul is in this work. Mm-hmm. So there's bits of me there without reserve. So you're going to get what you get. some people might hate that. They might not want to hear about relics at all. Okay, here's how it's different. J.K. Rowling built a series around wizardry. That was the centerpiece of her series. Rick Riordan did a series about Greek gods, and that was the thing his series spun upon. Mine is relics and antiquities of history, and that's what the series spins upon, and the supernatural dimension of that. So you can like that or not like, it's okay. But I think it's a great story, and that's what I was trying to do.
There is something, though, that's Catholic about it, that a lot of Catholic authors miss about their own writing. And this was made clear to me by one of my Jesuit brothers, Father Eugene Phillips.
Oh, sure.
He taught literature. He was an English professor, but he taught literature in film.
Ah.
And he wrote a series of books about key authors great authors, whose books were in film. And it was only by the time he got to the 12th or 13th of these books, he realized all those authors were Catholic.
Oh, interesting.
He didn't plan on that. He was trying to do literature.
Yeah, well, it's a sensibility.
One of the things that he noticed is that, or that I suggested to him, and it made sense, is that Catholics have such a sense of the importance of the sacrament and the sacramental. Our churches are not the modern ones. Some of the modern ones are like grocery stores. But the traditional Catholic Church is alive with all these statues, artwork, intricate beauty.
Expression.
Exactly.
Sensate.
And
Details.
that lends itself to concrete expression.
Right. That's exactly right.
And that's the thing.
So that's where and the humanity of it. Understanding relationships, age, letting go, your gifts. There's a sensibility there that is Catholic, but I think that's universal.
Yeah. Let's take another call. We have John. Hello, John, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Wyoming.
Great. What part of Wyoming are you in?
Cheyenne.
Oh, Cheyenne. I
Beautiful
love
country.
it is, and they got one of the best rodeos. So, John, what is your question?
My question is, I have an 8-year-old who reads at a 12-year-old level, but his maturity level is obviously not at a 12-year-old level.
Right.
So my question would be, would this be appropriate for that age range? And also, if you had any other recommendations for books to read for 8-year-olds, because I've been having a hard time finding appropriate, good ones for them to read.
Hard to find, John. They are.
John, have you had him read the Chronicles of Narnia?
Actually, he did read that. He just read it.
Because those, you can get those at 7, 8 years old.
Yeah, they're fine. And the Will Wilder series, I think your 8-year-old, particularly if he's at an advanced reading level, he will love it. This book is really for 8 and up. But I subscribe to the L. Frank Baum vision of writing, particularly for children. And L. Frank Baum wrote the Wizard of Oz series. And he would say, I write for the young and the young at heart. Yes. And I write for the same audience.
Yeah,
right. People 8 to 89 are going to love this. Well, if you're 90, read it. Why not? But 8-year-olds, I've talked to 8-year-olds who have read it, particularly if they're advanced readers. They love it. There's nothing objectionable here.
No.
There are frights around the edges, but it's more imaginative frights. And there's no gore. This is clearly a middle grade adventure, and I think they're going to love it. And I've been amazed by the reaction as I travel around.
I don't know about all the. 8-year-old is probably just a little too young for things like the Hardy Boys. They could
today. An 8-year-old today is like a 13-year-old when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So they're just so. What I found, even as I go to schools, they know a lot more than we did at 8.
Yeah.
So they're advanced in some ways. So I think some ways.
Yeah, and so
not maturity, but they know a lot, so they can interpret and understand. So Hardy Boys might be okay. There's no blood and gore.
Yeah, you might try something like the Hardy Boys too, and that's got 150 or so, 200 books. That's a good series.
Kate DiCamillo. I've had Kate on the show. Kate DiCamillo writes because of Winn-Dixie, the miraculous tale of Edward Tulane that my little daughter read in one sitting and was weeping like a baby by the time it's over. Kate DiCamillo writes beautiful books for this age group, And they are deeply affecting because they're about us. They're about who we are or who we should be. She's a great writer.
Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time.
Out of time.
Thank
Talk
you.
about the tour.
I just want to do a couple things. First, to go ahead and get the free DVD with the book. Yes. Tonight's show with Will Wilder, The Relic of the Perilous Falls. Go to EWTN's religious catalog. That's EWTNRC.com, or call 1-800-854-6316. You are doing a real tour because I got just seconds left.
Jacksonville, Florida on March 8th, New Orleans, Corpus Christi. Go to RaymondArroyo.com. Come see me. All the events are there. We'll have fun, book signings.
Those are great cities too. The Lord bless you and keep you and cause His face to shine upon you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we can bring Raymond not only for this show, but he does his own show, and we do this show all because of you. Mother Angelica set it up so that it's brought to you by you. So keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill, and we'll pay our bills too. Thank you.